There are two reasons why I absolutely love reading in the month of February. The first one, we've already celebrated Valentine's Day. Who doesn't love reading romance for Valentine's Day? But we did that last week, so we don't care about that anymore. Today, we care about fantasy. I didn't do this last year, but in 2024, I made a video called Fantasy February, I think. Maybe I didn't. But I have an idea. I want to read fantasy books for February so I can say Fantasy February. That is literally the only reason that I'm doing this, is because I want to say Fantasy February, because it sounds right on my tongue and in my mouth and in my head. So today, we're reading fantasy books. We are 100% just reading fantasy, and I'm so excited. Going into this video, I did have 3 fantasy books picked out that I wanted to read. However, none of them were giving me like an urge or an itch to read them, which is bad. It's actually really bad. Because the 3 books that I picked out are not terrible books. By any means, I'm actually really excited for most of these. First of which is The Dagger and the Flame. No idea what it's about, but I am really excited to read it. The Bad Ones by Melissa Albert also looked really good. And then this one I'm reading out of obligation, but it's Sky Shade by Alex Astor. That was my plan. That's what I was like, okay, that's cool. We're progressing in series that I'm in the middle of. The Bad Ones is a standalone, and The Dagger and the Flame is technically a duology, but I was going to let it go, okay? I'm trying to finish series I'm in the middle of. I'm really, really trying to, but I can't do it. Something else is calling to me. And funny thing is, I don't even know where it is on my shelf. Yo, this is an issue. If I'm remembering correctly, the book that I'm thinking of is on this side, I think. I really badly need to go through my fantasy shelves because I can't find anything in here. Where is this freaking book? The Bone Witch looks good too. Maybe I do that. Is this a series? Anybody know? I don't know. I found it. Is this the first one? This is the first. Oh no. The book that is calling to me, the book that is giving me the I want to read fantasy itch, is Zodiac Academy. Slight issue. I'm pretty sure this is like a 20-book series. And we're trying to finish series this year, not start any new ones. But then there's also the point of this year that I'm trying to have fun with my reading and trying not to like make myself not want to read by reading books that I feel like I'm obligated to read, which is kind of what the Sky Shade situation is. Like, I'm so torn. I am so incredibly torn. I could read The Bridge Kingdom. This sounds enticing. I have freaking these books by Adeline Grace. I've yet to read them. I love their covers. I literally put them out because of how much I love their covers. I want to read this series. I think it's about poison. I haven't visited V.E. Schwab at all. There's The Serpent of Winds and Night. There's so much. There's the Hush Hush series. I want to read that. Funnily enough, I do want to read The Hunger Games. I got a weird urge to read The Hunger Games. Never had that before. There's Scythe by Neil Shusterman. Like, there's so many that are calling to me, but they're all a part of series, and it's really becoming an issue. I'm genuinely so torn on what I should do. But I think I'm gonna do it. And I think we're gonna pick up the first book in the Zodiac Academy series. All that belly aching just to come to the same conclusion, but yes, we're gonna read Zodiac Academy. I don't actually know a lot about Zodiac Academy other than the fact that people say it's a really funny, like, you read it for the entertainment factor fantasy series. I'm sure that there's also people out there who say that the Zodiac Academy series is like their favorite fantasy series and what have you, but mostly from what I've heard is that you read this for entertainment factor. And right now, I just want a really entertaining, messy book, and I think that Zodiac Academy is officially for me. It's been on my shelf for a really long time, and I am ready to dive into the world. I know absolutely nothing about Zodiac Academy other than that. That's all I know. I'm assuming it has something to do with zodiac signs, probably at a boarding school, a lot of teenage drama, and I'm here for it. So, without further ado, let's go read Zodiac Academy: The Awakening by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valentini. Didn't even know that was the author. This is gonna be fun. Alrighty, y'all. It has been a couple of days. Let's talk about my progress in Zodiac Academy, The Awakening. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I am already about 50% of the way through the book, and I've only technically been reading it for 3 days, which is actually really weird because normally when I like a book in the way that I'm liking this one, as we'll talk about in a second, I fly through it in like 2 days, but I have had work the past 2 days, so I haven't been able to sit down and read it all day as I've been wanting to. But the first time I sat down with this, I think I read like the first 8 chapters in one sitting, which was like 120 pages of the book. And then the last 2 nights, I read 2 chapters each night before bed because that's all that I allowed myself to do because I didn't want to get too far ahead before we talked again. But my next chapter is chapter 12. And you know what? I kind of get it. I totally went into this just for the entertainment factor, and I am totally reading it just for the entertainment factor because if I sit and think about like the actual plot and what's happening, it is so strange that our main 2 characters did not question the world more. We spent like 5 minutes in chapter 3 or 4 being like, "What the heck? What do you mean there's magic?" and da 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 da. And then we get to the magic world and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, I can sense it. It's fine. It's cool. Like it's weird, but like we're going to do it because we want the inheritance or whatever." Which isn't like a super big spoiler. All of that happens with like the first 50, 75 pages of the book. Like I promise I'm not spoiling anything huge. We get the motive, we get all of it, right? But honestly, this is just a comically really funny series. I am noticing a couple of plot holes or like weird things of like, why didn't we talk about this more? Like, what do you mean? And it's kind of weird how they all have a like element and then they have this, what is it called, like order that they're under or whatever. That it's a little weird. It's a little weird. I'm like, why do we have both? And it's supposed to be zodiac, like as in the stars. You know, like it's a little strange if I like actually sit and think about it, but I'm not doing that. It's literally entertainment factor. The only reason I'm reading this is for entertainment factor. I am also so happy that I was able to find a copy of this on Kindle Unlimited because as I was reading this book is thick, and my copy of it is like really, really, I guess like chunky, and it hurts to hold after a while. Not only that, but I feel like mine was printed weirdly because on all of like the starting chapter pages, they have these little stars literally right over the words. And there's technically a map in the beginning of this book, but like it's cut off too. So I don't know. I think I got either a weird printed copy or an out of dated printed copy. I don't know. I think it's really funny though because every single copy that I own is gonna have to look like this now because I'm ornery and I need everything to match my shelves. So I'm just gonna have the weird ones, but I don't care that much, you know? If this is one of those series where I was like, "Oh my god, I love the characters, da 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 da," I would die for everybody. I'm crying my eyes out, bawling my eyes out at every chapter because I love them so much. I would feel differently, but again, literally entertainment factor. The best way I can describe this reading is if like you picked up a really bad action movie and are simply watching it because it's an action movie and you want something funny, right? That is literally why I'm reading this. Same thing, different format, and I'm like thoroughly enjoying myself. I was thinking about finishing this tonight. I don't know if we're going to. It is currently like 10 p.m. I shouldn't really be staying up to finish it, but we will see. I at least want to get a little bit more into it. So without further ado, that is what we're gonna go do now. I'm gonna go dive back into Zodiac Academy, regretting the decision of picking this up though because I did look at the series as a whole and it turns out I have like 8 other books I need to read, and that's not including novellas. So, great job, Paige. Great job on me. But that's a later me issue, okay? We're just gonna focus on book number 1 and actually dive back into Zodiac Academy: The Awakening. Good morning, my friends. How are you doing? So, Zodiac Academy: The Awakening. I read it, all 400 and some pages of it, or maybe 300 and some. No, 400 and some pages of Zodiac Academy: The Awakening. I read it. and I liked it. I really liked it. There is a part of me that like absolutely despises the way that this book is written, but for the fact that I am only reading it for entertainment factor and entertainment purposes, and oh my gosh, I just want a stupid, silly fantasy that gives me that fantasy feel without having to read like so much plot and so much like world building because it's not there because they just simply don't write it in this book. This is perfect. This is great. This is perfect. With that being said, if it wasn't obvious, there are more than a few plot holes in Zodiac Academy that I am noticing. Or maybe you couldn't call them plot holes so much so as like not explaining things. The biggest one, which we've already talked about, is the fact that it took them a whole 30 pages to come to terms with the fact that there was magic in the world because they could quote unquote feel it. For the first 18 years of their lives, they were just normal freaking humans, and then they're picked up and put in this world where all of a sudden there's magic, there's an order that you're a part of. They are like these really powerful people, the Vega twins that we're following, and I'm just supposed to be cool with that. I'm just supposed to be cool with that. If I was in that position as a 20-year-old, okay, a little bit older, I would 100% be like, actually, no, this is weird. We need to mention this. We need to mention this throughout the book, especially because it's like a 20 million bajillion book series. Like, I feel like it should have been talked about more. But despite that, there's other stuff that, like, isn't confusing, but I feel like could have been fleshed out more. But then again, I'm someone who is reading like Akatar and these worlds that have like a gosh, what's a way to say shit ton without swearing? They just have a lot of freaking world building. Okay, I'm so used to my fantasies having like the most in-depth amount of world building you've ever seen on this side of the Mississippi River. You know, um, okay. But with that being said, Zodiac Academy, The Awakening, got a 2.5 out of 5 stars for me. And as weird as this sounds, I only rated it that low because on the overall factor of how I rate all of my books, taking into account the fact that, you know, I'm like kind of like what the heck about this whole they're not intrigued or worried about the fact that there's magic in the world and these plot holes that aren't being described. If I was reading this book for like in not like in depth, like I don't go into books like being like, okay, you need to have your plot do this and this and this either, but it's like in depth, everything needs to make sense. It doesn't really meet my standards for that. And while I do read as a hobby, so it's always for entertainment, this was like a really bad action movie, if that makes sense. Like one of those ones where they're literally just shooting at each other and there's supposed to be a plot that's happening, but you're like, actually, y'all are just shooting at each other for literally an hour and a half. Okay, cool, whatever. It very much gives me that vibe, which is really weird. And I know that's really weird, but that's just where I'm at, man. That's just where I'm at. With that being said, The Awakening. Yes, Zodiac Academy The Awakening by Carolyn Peckham and Susan Valentini. I just have been calling it the Zodiac Academy. Um, it got a 2.5 out of 5 stars for me. From me, not for me. From me. Which, to be honest, is not all that high. But, I enjoyed it enough that I will keep reading it solely for that entertainment factor. You know, simply because it is so stupidly entertaining, I feel the need to continue, even though there's a million freaking books, and some of them are like 600 pages, I think. But I'm not trying to think about that right now. That's stressful. But that is the first freaking book that we picked up. It took me like a week to get through. Oh my gosh. I'm not reading slumping, but I'm in this mood where I don't want to read fantasy, but I'm not like forcing myself to read fantasy either because I really like fantasy, but I want to read freaking romance. But we literally just did that. This is so weird. Literally last week when we were reading romance, all I wanted to do was read fantasy, and now that we're reading fantasy, all that I want to read is romance. It is the most annoying thing that could be happening on planet Earth to me right now. It's a very big inconvenience, not a minor one. It is a major inconvenience to my life. Okay, I'm over it. Thank you for letting me get all that off my chest. But with that being said, the next book we're going to pick up is Fearful by Lauren Roberts. I was just waiting to get an audiobook copy of this for my library, and I'm trying to finish series. That's kind of still a point that I would like to do this year. So I figured we could finish off the Powerless trilogy by listening to Fearful, and probably doing something else similar along those lines for our third fantasy book as far as like finishing a series goes. Because little side note, I literally sat down with all the series I'm in the middle of right now yesterday. There's 30 of them, by the way. 87 books that I need to read to finish the series that I have open. That's all of them. But a lot of them I only have like 1 or 2 books left in. Why I don't just finish it, I have no idea. But we're going to focus on doing that right now, here today, by reading Fearful by Lauren Roberts. The expectations are low. I'm literally just going to speed read through it. It should only take me about an hour because I'm listening to it on 2x speed, and it's a novella. Lauren Roberts, I'm coming for you. The audiobook is 8 hours. 8. I'm gonna be here for a while. Okay, before we talk about anything reading related, I do just want to point out that the audio quality did in fact change. I forgot my little microphone downstairs and I don't want to go get it, but I do want to continue reading, so I apologize. Welcome to vlog channel audio quality. Anyways, I finished listening to Fearful by Lauren Roberts, and I really don't have anything nice to say about it. I kind of knew going into this that I wouldn't really like the novella, simply because I did not like the series. I didn't like how it ended, and I was over it, right? But I had this urge to read it and make sure that the story was actually fulfilled, and I wasn't missing something like super exciting to the plot that was prevalent or would completely shift my dynamic on the series, right? Don't worry, wasn't missing anything. If anything, I'm just more pissed off. The novella is told in the perspective of a character that goes through a dramatic change in Fearless by Lauren Roberts, and I do not appreciate nor do I understand why that had to happen. And even though Fearful was describing why what happened and this character's thoughts behind it, their feelings, their emotions, all of the things, it still does not sit right with me at all. Like, it doesn't sit right with me. If literally anybody would have had a conversation with this character and like actually asked them how they were doing internally, it would not have happened. It would not have happened. And I think that that is a fault of the other characters that were around said important one that we just lost the plot. Like literally, this was no longer about trials by the time we reached book 2, and they were nowhere to be seen in book 3 except for the repeat of book 1, which is a lot of lore. But I didn't like Fearful. I didn't like Fearful. I gave it a 1.5 out of 5 stars. I truly have nothing nice to say about it. So without further ado, we're just gonna like move swiftly along because I simply do not want to think about Fearful or the powerless world at all anymore in my life. I'm moving past it. We're moving past it. And in an attempt to move past it at a quicker pace so I can stop thinking about it, we are going to pick up our next fantasy read, and I have a couple of books here to choose from. These are all books that gave me the tingles, and I was like, yeah, okay, I could read that. I'd be okay with that, I think. I don't know. We're going to talk about it, debrief, figure it out, and honestly, I might actually look at Kindle Unlimited Edition 2 to see if there's something else that I want to pick up. But in my stack here, we have a couple of characters we've seen before, the first of which is Skyshade by Alex Astor. I did not like Nightbane, which is the second book in the series, but Skyshade is the third, and I do want to finish the series. But I feel like this is going to be a powerless situation, and I don't think I'm going to like this. And right now, fantasy is kind of giving me the ick with how bad or how much I haven't been like loving the fantasy reads that I have, which Zodiac Academy doesn't count, but because I rated it lower, it was lower on my scale. Like, in-depth fantasy, there hasn't been one that I'm like, oh, I love, you know? And I am not in the mood to pick up Echo War. We're not doing that. But Skyshade, we have her. I'm really not drawn to her. I don't want to pick her up. Another reoccurring character, we saw this one at the beginning of the video, I never picked it up. We have The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle. I do not know why this 500 or 450 page behemoth of a novel is calling to me, but it absolutely is. This is a duology. The second book has already been published, and I'm not opposed to picking it up, but seeing as I just started Zodiac Academy, I'm trying to limit series I'm starting because I'm trying to finish them this year, and I fear I would be like hurting my own soul if I picked this up and read it, though for whatever reason it's very appealing. Very appealing. I do want to point out though that this is a YA book, and for whatever reason me and YA fantasies either get along really well or not at all, and I'm a little worried it's going to be a not at all situation just simply because of how my reading has been going recently. We have one more reoccurring character that I briefly mentioned when we were picking out the first book that we were going to read, and that is The Bone Witch by Rin Chupico, I think. I thought this was a standalone. It's not a standalone. It is a 3-book series, and it's making it a little less enticing to pick up. All I know about this is that there's necromancy, and I have nothing more to say. And then the 4th book that I have brought with me is Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. This cover is stunning. I saw it on the internet, and I thought it was beautiful. And then my mom and I went to Barnes & Noble a couple of days ago, and I saw it, and I saw it with its beautiful sprayed edges, and it came home with me immediately. This guy is a standalone. It is technically marked as a series in Goodreads, but after a little bit of research on what I like to call the internet, the only reason that it is marked as a series is because there is a tiny little prequel to this that you could read, but I think you're supposed to read it afterwards because it's like one of the characters' journals or something, which I feel like you wouldn't want to read their journal until you've read the book. I have actually read the entirety of the blurb for this book. I'm not a blurb reader. I do not read blurbs. I think they give away way too much of the book. But my mom wanted to know what this was about, and I couldn't tell her a single thing. And I'm like, I'll just read the blurb to you because she was driving, and I was doing like my own little book haul to her. Like she didn't just walk through Barnes and Noble with me for an hour. But I read the entirety of this, and it does sound appealing. But I feel like I literally just read the book by reading the blurb. This is why I don't read blurbs. I don't read backs of books. I don't read blurbs of books because simply I feel like it's spoiled for me. I don't want to know anything other than a few select words that I can pick up by glancing at the back. So that's where I'm at on this. And I don't actually know if I'm ready to read this. It was literally so appealing when I picked it up at Barnes & Noble 2 days ago. I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I'm gonna read this tonight. I could not care less now that I've read the blurb. Isn't that crazy? This is why I don't read freaking blurbs. But these are the choices that I have, like, given myself. And I don't want to read any of them, really. Like, I really don't. I am in such a weird reading mood right now where, like, I want to read. I want to read so bad. Like, I literally think we are going to sit down and binge read a book tonight. But none of these feel like the right ones. And the only one that are calling to me are romance books. But we're not reading freaking romance books. I was literally this close to bringing you Bloody Heart by Sophie Lark, which is literally over there on my bed. I don't know if you can see it. Right here, my queen. I was gonna bring her and be like, Mafia is like practically fantasy. Can we just read this? Like, that's how bad I want to. Like, I've already started it. I'm literally 6 chapters into this book because this is what I want to be reading. But we're reading fantasy, or at least we're trying to. Can I consider Mafia a fantasy? No, I really can't. I really can't. It's even a romance too, but I'm literally like, I know I already mentioned this, but seriously, last week when I was reading romance, I was in a fantasy mood, and this week when I'm supposed to be reading fantasy, I'm in a romance mood. And it's peeving me because my video schedule is getting fucked with by my mood reading, which is such a non-issue. I literally could just pick up Bloody Heart and say, deal with it. It's what I want to read, but I would feel wrong inside. Like, I would genuinely feel wrong inside. So my other thought process here is to see if my library or Kindle Unlimited has the final novella in the Focal of Air series by Holly Black. This, for those of you who are not familiar, that is also known as the Cruel Prince trilogy, and shocker, another series I wasn't a fan of. I actually, like, really, really don't like The Cruel Prince, but I have one novella left, and like, dude, you gotta read it at that point, you know what I mean? Okay, I could buy it on Kindle for $10. I'm not doing that. Let me see if my library has it. Oh my god, it does have it available. Oh my gosh. How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate Stories by... Who's this by? Holly Black? Let me see. I'm downloading it to my Kindle app right now on my iPad. Do I have a Kindle? Yes. Could I be using my Kindle? Yes. Am I using my Kindle? Clearly not. My freaking Kindle has such an issue with connecting to my Wi-Fi though. I don't know why. It's such like an issue it shouldn't be having, but it is an issue that it has, and it peeves me. How the King of what is this even called? How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate Stories, the Folk of Air. So it's about the King of Elfheim. Isn't that fucking Carden? God, I hate his ass. I really don't like Carden. How long is this? Tell me how long your book is. 165 pages. That feels like something I'm okay with picking up and reading. After showing you all my options, I genuinely think we're gonna go with How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate Stories. Because then that's another series done. And then we have finished 2 series in this video, even though we started 1. But that's progress, right? I'm gonna treat it as progress. And we are gonna go read How the Elf King. I hate this title. How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate Stories. I'm gonna learn to hate this story even more so right quick if I can't get a handle on this title. Thoughts going in, my brain is empty. Like I said, I didn't really like Cruel Prince all that much. This is simply a whim for me, but I'm gonna let my whims whim in the way they wish to whim. I'm kind of excited. Maybe this will make me hate Carden less. Let's go. We're gonna go binge read How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate Stories. Apparently he's learning to read. I'm learning to read. God gracious. Okay, it's like midnight. I don't know the last time we talked. It didn't take me that long to read the book. What did I just read? How the Elf King Learned to Hate Stories. Yeah, I think it took me like an hour. Nothing crazy. But I read it. Honestly, this novella pissed me off so much less than all of the books in the series. While I can't remember like a bunch of specific details about the Cruel Prince series, I do remember like overall arching like what happened and everything, right? So I was able to follow along with everything, and yeah, I definitely think that was a little bit more insight into Mr. Carden and how he worked and why he worked the way that he worked. And I think that bringing the concept of stories into that was really interesting. I still think he's a dick though. Like, I'm sorry. Though, if I am like completely honest with y'all, I think that every single character in that book is insufferable. I really don't like any of the characters in that series, but, that's my own provocative. I'm gonna save that little comment for another day. I just said it, but you know, we don't need to talk further on it. I've made my peace with the fact that I don't like the Cruel Prince series. I really wanted to, but I don't think it's for me. And I think, funnily enough, that's also another one of the YA series that like really blew up on TikTok. That and Powerless. Maybe I just don't like YA, which would suck because I have like a million bajillion YA books on my shelves. But I don't know. I really don't have anything negative to say about the book, but I also don't have anything like overly positive either. I still don't think the way that Carden treats people is warranted, even though he was brought up in hate. I don't think that's a good lesson to be teaching people when you're reading books, because I truly believe that someone can treat you absolutely terrible and just be the shittiest person in the world, but you can be nice, you can be kind, and you can be the change that you want to see. But then again, I'm probably just getting way too deep for it being a 160-page novella. You get what I mean? Like, it's not detrimental to my health or my reading that I stand on this opinion that Carden's a dick. I'm gonna always think that, but I'm not gonna like die on the hill, you know? Like, I will not be going to any fictional wars just to fight over the fact that I don't like him. Like, I just don't care enough, I think, honestly, is what it is. He infuriates me, but not to the point where I need to scream it from the rooftops. Nonetheless, I did give the book 2.5 stars. I literally just rated it and I can't remember. No, I did give it, 100%. I gave it 2.5. Simply because if you're going to read the entire series, you might as well read the novella, and it was a lot more tolerable than Fearful from the Powerless trilogy was, which was also a novella. But both of those novellas were not novellas, okay? Like, I get that they're not a full-length novel, but dude, they practically were. Fearful was like 200 and some pages, and then this one was 160. Given that's pretty short. That one I will call a novella. But Fearful, that was not a novella. That's 230 pages of just more content about the series. Just make another book at that point. Or call it the perspective of that one character. You know what I mean? Like, that took me 4 hours to read. It should not have taken me 4 hours to read. If it's a novella, it should be under 2 hours. That's like, I stand on that. I've read novellas that are 30 pages before. That's all you need. That's a novella. Sorry, I feel very strongly about my novellas, apparently. Didn't know that. But maybe I'm just justifying the fact that we didn't read like 300-400 page books this week. But to be honest, I'm really glad we didn't. I think I needed this like refresh of my series since I'm still starting new ones. Great job, Paige. But no, I gave it 2.5. Like, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't love it. I don't have anything necessarily nice to say about it. If you're going to read the Cruel Prince trilogy, you might as well read the novellas that go with it. You know, they're easy peasy. But with that, I have absolutely no more 2 cents to give you this week. I simply cannot be asked to. A little behind the scenes here for you, but it is actually like the transition week of February into March as I'm filming this, which means that the next YouTube video that will be coming out is my February reading wrapped. And that means that I get to mood read for a week before I figure out what I want to do for content in March. Sometimes I film my mood reading, sometimes I don't. I don't think I'm going to do this one. We'll see. I'm going to say that and I'm going to end up making an entire YouTube video. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I'm very excited to just pick up whatever book pulls my brain. Because I'm in the mood to just like devour books, but I want to devour them, you know? With that being said, thank you guys so much for joining me this week. I won't say I had a whole bunch of fun reading these fantasy books, but I did have like a mediocre amount of fun, you know? Like, I'm not a party pooper, but I'm not the person throwing the party either. But as always, I hope that your book worlds are treating you just as well, if not better, than mine are treating me, and I cannot wait to see you guys next Wednesday for our next reading adventure. Until then, y'all stay safe, happy, healthy, and all of the wonderful, amazing things. I'll see you then. Cheers.